And I just want to divert from this a bit and talk a little bit more about Rich Peverley in that situation, because what Rich Peverley and Jiri Fischer had in common was that they both had pre-existing conditions. This wasn't their first brush with heart troubles. I mean, you guys know I'm a fight guy. In the UFC, Dan the Outlaw Hardy, who is a very popular fighter, fought George St. Pierre for the welterweight title. In one of his pre-fight EKGs, he showed a little bit of a heart abnormality. He was no longer cleared to fight, period. Finito. It was over. He's now a commentator. He's now doing that. He still left a lot of money on the table in his active career. My question, and I guess, Bill, we'll start with you here. If both Jiri Fischer and Rich Peverley had been identified with heart ailments prior to this, why were they allowed on the ice?
Well, because the heart ailment that Peverley had, in my understanding, he had an ablation for an irregular heartbeat last training camp.
Right.
So
he had arrhythmia. They call that arrhythmia, correct?
Yeah, it's arrhythmia, but the treatment is called an ablation. And it's very simply done. The monster, the goalie that the Leafs had,
Gustafsson,
and he's in Detroit now, he had two of them within a month. So it's not something that usually causes a problem. Now,
yeah, but guys, I'm going to interrupt you because I know this for a fact. Sometimes, and this is sometimes, and I'm sure some of the cardiologists that are listening will jump in, arrhythmia is caused by stress or anxiety, right? Or lifestyle.
I have no idea, Frank. I'm not up on that.
No, I'm telling you. Or it can be congenital.
Having a treatment called an ablation. Or you can put a heart monitor on.
What is an ablation, Bill? Do you know what an ablation is? Because I don't know.
No, well, I don't either. It could very well be stress-related, but there are treatments other than ablation. But ablation is what Peverley had, and it allows you to play. And yesterday, he had an irregular heartbeat, and he obviously put it out of sync. It stopped.
Is that something that the trainer should have picked up on at the time, Bill? Like, should he have been cleared to play that game, I guess is the question.
Yeah, no, the point is...
I don't think the trainer could have caught that. If what Bill is saying, I understand, it's something that can happen in the spur of the moment, right? It's not part... If I understand what Bill just said, it's not a congenital heart disease. It's not genetic, right? It's something that happens, and Gustafsson, the monster, suffered from that, right?
Yes, he did. The fact remains that the only thing the trainer could do is immediately upon seeing him on the deck, said, this guy has got an irregular heartbeat, and I'm sure he did, because those trainers know everything about their players. So there was nothing they could do other than hope it was an irregular heartbeat as opposed to complete cardiac arrest, right, like it was with Jiri Fischer.
So let me ask you something, Bill. Do the trainers in a professional hockey team, do they do random stress tests where they take a player and they put all the little wires on their chest and they make them go on a Stairmaster and make them do certain types of obstacles to get their heart rate up to see what condition they're in for the game? Is that a normal or
absolutely? They do it at the beginning of training camp. Phil can tell you. Yeah. They didn't do it as much when Phil was there. It's not nearly as technical as it is now, but they bring in fitness people to do these. And when we did them mid-season, and we did them at the beginning of the season. So
did they bring actual cardiologists to do this, or just people who are in?
We had York University.
What's the people who are not cardiologists? People who go to university and become trainers for professional teams.
Some of them were doctors. The head guy was doctors. They would do all the fitness tests, all the equipment. They had everything, and they compiled scores, tried to discover any aberrations that may be in the scores, and did a very good job. You're much better off having that part of your business done by someone from the outside as opposed to blaming the trainer for missing.
Oh, so you guys went third party just to be able to get somebody from the outside looking in, correct, Bill?
Yep, absolutely.
And the other point that we should raise here is that I think the access to top-flight medical care is maybe what keeps guys like Rich Peverley and back in Jiri Fischer's time, keeps them alive. Because you look at a case like Alexei Cherepanov over in Russia, I mean, if that guy dropped dead, I don't know if he had the access to the top-flight medical care that a Fischer or a Peverley would have had. Is that a fair statement, Bill? Do we lose Bill?
I'm here, yeah, I'm here, sorry.
Yeah, is that a fair statement?
I think Cherepanov would have been. He was in far northeastern Russia, if I'm not mistaken, and I would think that a defibrillator would have been quite a distance from the building. But I know Phil would know these two guys, and these are the two that I recall dying on the ice. One in practice, and that was in Kitchener. His name was Wayne Larkin. And right. I don't know if Phil played against him, but he was a Western Canadian kid, gifted player, practicing at the Kitchener Arena. Bernie Jeffrion was the coach. He died on the ice. Heart attack.
That was Boom Boom Jeffrion, right?
I'm sorry?
Boom Boom Jeffrion was the coach?
Yep, yeah. And then the other one, and Phil would know this one because a former Blackhawk, then playing for, in fact, it might have happened. As I recall, Bill Masterton, that they named the award after, he was hit by Elmer Vasco and died on the ice. And that was in a game in Minneapolis. And Phil might have more to add to that. I don't know if, well, Phil would have been playing because it was expansion. So were you a part of that, Phil?
No, I was in Boston at the time, but I remember that because I think Bill Masterton was one of the only guys that had a helmet on.
Yes, he was.
I remember correctly.
So he was when Philip Masterson was wearing a helmet, he was an anomaly in the NHL at that time.
Yeah, and there was one other guy, Burns. Remember Burns?
Didn't Kruzhelinski be one of the first players that wore a helmet in the NHL?
Charlie Burns, yeah, he had a plate in his head.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, he played for the Whitby Dunlops, ended up playing professional hockey and playing very well. Yeah, Charlie was a centerman. He was a Toronto boy.
Well, Phil, do you remember at all in your career when you broke into the NHL that anything even similar to Jiri Fischer happened on the bench where somebody would pass out or just keel over? Did that ever happen when you played for the Montreal Canadiens? And I know you played for Chicago. No, you played for the Chicago Blackhawks, and then you played for Boston Bruins, and then you played for the Rangers. Did anything like that happen to you?
No, I don't recall that. A couple of times on the train coming back from Toronto, a couple of guys fell out of the top bunk because they were drunk.
and the trainers passed out the aisle.
Was there a defibrillator on there, or they just fall off the bunk?
Oh, my Lord. Isn't
that was going around the bend at Albany, wasn't it, Phil?
I think it might have been.
Why the fuck do I ask you a serious question? You fucked. So in professional sport, would it be fair to say, guys, that we've come to one conclusion, that more is not enough? That means that you need to have, because these athletes are at the highest level of the game, they need defibrillators and they need medical people. Okay, this is what I'm saying. Jiri Fischer was a president and a doctor who was a fan of the Detroit Red Wings. It happened in Detroit, did it not?
Yes.
Okay, so there was a fan of the Detroit Red Wings, so a doctor came down, worked on him, and then they found a defibrillator. And now there's a defibrillator within arm's length of every bench, right?
Right.
That's a given, Frank. You don't have to look that up.
So, but in professional sport, is it now not a given that these athletes are so at the highest level of stress, highest level of intensity in their sport, whether it's football, baseball? Is baseball, and a lot of baseball fans will tell me to go dial 1-800, go screw myself. But is baseball as intense as hockey, football, and soccer?
Well, to answer, Frank, one of the great costs of the industry of professional sport is insurance. And if a hockey team has a defibrillator at the back of every bench, I can assure you that every other professional sport that wants to be insured has to have the same equipment. These guys don't pay out claims without you at least doing your part of it. And what happened to Fischer has advanced the preventability of death and or cardiac arrest or both in professional hockey. And I don't know this for a fact, but I am certain that there is one on every football bench, there is one on every basketball bench, and there is one in every dugout in professional baseball. So it's not a matter of hit and miss anymore. I think that Jiri Fischer's incident that was observed by many, just like last night's in Dallas, you had to be impressed with how the league handled that, how the referees handled that, and how the Dallas Stars handled it. And they in a half an hour, it was very tense because they thought, I think, that Peverley was gone, and he wasn't.